Have you ever felt that afternoon slump? That feeling of drowsiness and fatigue after a big meal? Many of us brush it off as normal, but for some, it's a signal from our bodies. And today, we're talking about a potential helper hiding in plain sight. A simple, common spice in virtually every kitchen cabinet that some people claim can help manage one of the biggest health challenges of our time.
It sounds like the classic magic pill story, doesn't it? A natural, easy fix for a complex problem like high blood sugar. And for years, that magical reputation has been attached to cinnamon. It's moved out of the realm of apple pie and into the world of health supplements, surrounded by claims that it can dramatically lower blood glucose.
Exactly. And that creates a wave of questions for anyone trying to manage their health. Is this real? Is it just hype? Is it safe? The internet is a minefield of conflicting answers, ranging from it's a miracle cure to it's completely useless.
And that's the fog we're going to clear today. We are going to put the claims to the test, look at the real scientific evidence, and give you a clear, balanced, and practical guide. We're here to find out if this ancient spice truly has a place in a modern, health-conscious lifestyle.
Welcome back to the Healthy Food to Eat podcast, the show that unpacks the science behind the food we eat. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that generates a ton of curiosity and confusion. Does cinnamon actually reduce blood sugar?
This is a fantastic topic because it's a perfect example of where traditional medicine and modern science intersect. Cinnamon has been used for centuries in various cultures for its medicinal properties. But it's only in the last few decades that scientists have started to seriously investigate if and how it might work for metabolic health.
So before we even get into the evidence, we have to address a critical point that most casual conversations about cinnamon completely miss. When we say cinnamon, we're not just talking about one thing. There are two major players on the field, and they are not created equal.
This is probably the most important practical piece of information in this entire discussion. The two main types you'll encounter are Cassia cinnamon and Ceylon cinnamon.
Let's break those down. What is Cassia cinnamon?
Cassia cinnamon is what you will find in the vast majority of supermarkets. It's dark, reddish-brown, has a very strong, spicy, sweet flavor, and is relatively inexpensive. If your spice jar just says cinnamon, it is almost certainly Cassia. It's sometimes referred to as Chinese cinnamon.
Okay, so that's the common everyday cinnamon. What about Ceylon?
Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, comes primarily from Sri Lanka. It's lighter tanning color, has a more delicate, complex, and less overpowering flavor, and it's generally more expensive. If you see cinnamon sticks, Ceylon sticks are made of thin, fragile layers that look like a tightly rolled cigar, while Cassia sticks are usually a single, thick, hard layer of bark.
So they look different, they taste different, and they have a different price point. Why is this distinction so vitally important when we're talking about using it for health purposes?
It comes down to one compound, coumarin. Cassia cinnamon contains a significant amount of coumarin. Ceylon cinnamon contains almost none.
And why should we be concerned about coumarin?
Coumarin is a natural plant compound that in high doses can be toxic to the liver and may have other negative health effects. Regulatory bodies around the world have established a tolerable daily intake for coumarin. With Cassia cinnamon, it's surprisingly easy to exceed that safe daily limit if you start taking it in medicinal doses, like a teaspoon or more per day.
Wow. So someone hearing that cinnamon is good for you could go out, buy the common Cassia variety, start taking large amounts, and inadvertently be consuming a potentially harmful substance.
That is the exact risk. With Ceylon cinnamon, the coumarin content is so low that this is not a concern. This is a non-negotiable safety point. If you are considering using cinnamon regularly in therapeutic amounts for health, Ceylon is the far safer choice. We'll come back to this, but it needed to be said up front.
That's incredibly important. Okay, now that we've established the safety baseline, let's get into the main question. How might cinnamon actually work to lower blood sugar? What are the proposed mechanisms?
The research suggests there are three main ways cinnamon could be exerting its effects, and they are all quite fascinating.
Let's take them one by one. What's the first mechanism?
The first is that a compound in cinnamon, specifically cinnamaldehyde, appears to mimic the action of insulin. To understand this, we need a quick refresher. Insulin is like a key. It unlocks the doors to our body cells, allowing glucose from the blood to enter and be used for energy.
And in insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, either the body doesn't produce enough keys or the locks on the cell doors become rusty and don't respond to the key very well. This leaves glucose trapped in the bloodstream.
Exactly. And what some studies suggest is that compounds in cinnamon can act like a sort of master key. They seem to be able to help the cells take up glucose from the blood even when the normal insulin signaling pathway isn't working perfectly. It's essentially giving the body a helping hand to get that sugar out of the blood and into the cells.
So it's providing a workaround, not fixing the original problem. That's fascinating. What's the second mechanism?
The second mechanism is that cinnamon might improve insulin sensitivity. This is slightly different. Instead of mimicking insulin, it helps your body's own insulin work better. It's like it goes to those rusty locks on the cell doors and squirts a little oil on them, making them much more responsive to the key you already have.
So it makes your body more efficient at using the insulin it produces.
Precisely. It can enhance the signaling cascade that happens after insulin binds to the cell. This increased sensitivity means the body doesn't have to work as hard or produce as much insulin to do the same job, which is a major goal in managing diabetes and insulin resistance.
Okay, so we have mimicking insulin and improving insulin sensitivity. What's the third way?
The third mechanism is like traffic control for your digestion. Cinnamon appears to slow down the rate at which your stomach empties after a meal. Think of it like building a small dam. Instead of carbohydrates flooding into your bloodstream all at once, cinnamon helps release them slowly, as a steady trickle.
It prevents that big, sudden rush of sugar that can overwhelm the system.
You've got it. Some research also suggests that cinnamon might inhibit certain digestive enzymes in the small intestine. By inhibiting these enzymes, which break down carbohydrates, it could further slow down the absorption of sugar, leading to a smaller, more blunted blood sugar response after eating.
So to recap the three mechanisms, it can act like insulin, it can make your own insulin work better, and it can slow down the digestion of carbohydrates. That's a powerful three-pronged attack.
It is, at least in theory. These are the mechanisms observed in lab and animal studies. The billion-dollar question, of course, is, does this translate into real, measurable effects in humans?
Exactly. This is where we move from theory to evidence. What do the clinical trials say?
This is where the story gets more complicated because results from individual studies have been mixed. Some show a significant benefit, some show a moderate benefit, and some show no benefit at all. This is very common in nutrition research.
Managing diabetes can feel complicated. What to eat? What to avoid? Make it simple with the Ultimate Diabetes Diet Bundle. This printable PDF is an instant download, giving you everything you need to succeed. You'll get a complete 30-day diabetic meal plan to end decision fatigue, a clear diabetic food list so you always know your best options, 120 delicious diabetic-friendly snack ideas, a ready-to-go diabetic grocery list to make shopping a breeze. Stop stressing and start thriving. Click the link to get your instant download today.
So how do we make sense of conflicting results?
The best way is to look at a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is a study where researchers gather all the high-quality individual trials on a topic and combine their data to find an overall average effect. It gives us a more reliable picture.
And what have the meta-analyses on cinnamon and blood sugar found?
Several have been conducted. A comprehensive one, published in the highly respected Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, looked at 11 randomized controlled trials. It found that, on average, cinnamon consumption was associated with a statistically significant decrease in fasting blood glucose. A decrease is good. Can you put a number on it?
The average reduction in fasting blood glucose was around 25 milligrams per deciliter, mg/dl. To put that in perspective, A level under 100 milligrams per DL is normal, and 126 milligrams per DL or higher indicates diabetes. So a 25-point drop can be quite meaningful for someone in the pre-diabetic or diabetic range.
That does sound significant. What about long-term markers like hemoglobin A1C?
The evidence for A1C is less consistent. Some meta-analyses found a small but significant reduction, while others found no significant effect. It seems to have a more reliable effect on short-term measures like fasting blood sugar than on long-term measures like A1C.
So the overall picture is that cinnamon shows promise, particularly for lowering fasting blood sugar, but it's not a miracle cure and results can vary.
That is the most accurate and responsible summary. It's a tool that may help, but it's not a standalone solution. It should be seen as a complement to the cornerstones of diabetes management: diet, exercise, and, if prescribed, medication.
This brings us to the most practical part of our discussion, the user's guide. If a listener wants to try it, how should they do it? Let's start with the most important question: which type to buy?
We have to reemphasize this. For regular, therapeutic use, Ceylon cinnamon is the recommended choice due to its ultra-low coumarin content. You might have to find it online or at a specialty store, but it is the wisest option for safety.
Okay, seek out Ceylon. Next question: how much should you take?
Dosages in successful studies typically ranged from 1 to 6 grams per day. A teaspoon of cinnamon powder is roughly 2 to 3 grams. So we're talking about anywhere from half a teaspoon to about 2 teaspoons per day.
What's a sensible starting point?
It's always wise to start low and go slow. Begin with about half a teaspoon per day, see how your body feels and how your blood sugar responds if you're monitoring it. And then you can gradually increase if you wish. There doesn't appear to be much added benefit beyond 6 grams.
And next, what form is best? Powder, sticks, or a supplement capsule?
The powder is the most studied and the easiest to incorporate into your diet. You can control the dose easily. Cinnamon sticks are great for infusing flavor, but it's hard to know how much of the active compound you're getting.
What about supplements?
Supplements can be convenient, but they come with a big caveat. The supplement industry is not well regulated, so quality and purity can vary dramatically. Some might use Cassia instead of Ceylon. If you go this route, it is essential to choose a highly reputable brand that uses third-party testing for purity and potency. Frankly, just using the culinary powder is often simpler and safer.
That's great advice. So we have the right type, Ceylon, dose, start with about half a teaspoon, and form, powder. Now for the fun part, how do you actually use it?
The possibilities are endless. For breakfast, this is the easiest. Sprinkle it into your morning oatmeal, mix it into plain Greek yogurt, or blend it into a smoothie.
For drinks, add a half teaspoon to your morning coffee or tea.
For lunch and dinner, bit creative. Cinnamon is a wonderful component of savory spice rubs for chicken or pork. It adds a warm, earthy note to lentil soups, chili, or Middle Eastern and Indian curries. For snacks, sprinkle it on sliced apples with some almond butter, or on popcorn for a sweet-tasting, sugar-free snack.
Those are fantastic practical tips. This brings us to our final and perhaps most important section, the warnings and caveats. Who should be cautious?
This is the crucial final safety check. First and foremost, cinnamon is not a replacement for prescribed diabetes medication. Never stop or alter your medication without consulting your doctor. It is extremely dangerous. Second, because of the coumarin in Cassia, anyone with liver issues or a history of liver disease should be extremely cautious and speak to their doctor first. Third, because cinnamon can lower blood sugar, if you are already taking diabetes medications like metformin or insulin, adding cinnamon could theoretically increase your risk of hypoglycemia, dangerously low blood sugar. This is another reason to start low, monitor closely, and keep your healthcare team in the loop. It can also have mild blood thinning properties, so people on blood thinning medications should also consult their doctor. Finally, there isn't enough safety data for pregnant or breastfeeding women, so it's best for them to avoid using cinnamon in medicinal quantities.
That was an incredibly thorough and balanced exploration. Let's distill it all down. If someone asks, does cinnamon lower blood sugar? What's the concise answer?
The concise answer is, the scientific evidence shows that it has the potential to, but it's not a guaranteed cure. Meta-analyses suggest it can lead to a meaningful reduction in fasting blood sugar for some people.
And what are the most important practical points to remember?
I'll give you 4. 1. Choose Ceylon, not Cassia. For regular use, Ceylon is the much safer option. 2. Dose sensibly. Start with about half a teaspoon a day, working up to no more than 2 teaspoons. 3. It's a supplement, not a substitute. Cinnamon is a complementary tool, not a replacement for medication, diet, or exercise. And 4. Talk to your doctor. Before starting any new supplement regimen, especially if you have a health condition or take medication, a conversation with your healthcare provider is essential.
That's the perfect summary. It's not magic, but it might be a helpful tool when used correctly and safely. And that brings us to the end of another episode.
We hope this deep dive has armed you with the knowledge to make an informed decision for yourself. We're always curious to hear from you. What's your favorite way to incorporate cinnamon into your meals? Find us on social media and join the conversation.
And if you found value in this episode, please consider leaving a review. It's the #1 way to help other people find our show and get access to this free, evidence-based information.
And as always, our final and important reminder. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult with your physician or a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Thanks for tuning in to the Healthy Food to Eat podcast. We'll be back next time. Until then, eat well and be well.